Hello YouTubers, now today we are servicing an Opel Astra, a GTC 08 1.4 petrol. Now, I actually was starting to do the air filter before I realised I didn't even have the camera downstairs. So we have the old air filter here. We have a couple of T25 Torques to actually take the air filter box off. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So obviously the new air filter here. Good thing to do is before you put the new air filter on is just give it a good blowout to get all the crap out. So that's the air filter sorted. And I have to pick up the tool because I can't tighten this back until I do that. But basically, what we can do now on the floor, before I put on the lift, we can check the antifreeze level. I'm going to check the brake fluid level. Also top up the windscreen wiper washer bottle, and then we can lift it up. Oh, we can also do the plugs here as well. Do the oil filter and then lift it up, drain the oil, put the oil in, and then we're more or less done. Oh, we've also got to do diagnostics in this car. The engine light's on, so I'm going to show you that as well. See what the story is there. And then this job will be done. So we're going to crack on with it. I'm going to do the name's done. Coolant level. That's it. Do that. So I'm going to now check the coolant level with my little gadget. As you see me use on other videos, just to see if we've got enough antifreeze in. It's good stuff. See what colour it is. So we know there's antifreeze in it. Let's let that suck up. Wait for it to settle. As we can see, we've got now. We've got 5 floating, which is good for -37, which I think in my books that should be okay. I'll just show you this a bit closer if you haven't seen it before. Depending on how many bubbles are floating, there's a little gauge tells you basically the antifreeze and the numbers for the antifreeze. So we've got 5 floating, good for -34 to -37. Now if we have anything for them sort of temperatures, we can have more problems than antifreeze in the car. So I'm going to say that one's good. Now I'm going to check the brake fluid. Now, oh, you can't really see that, can you? Let's just get there. Now the thing with the brake fluid you want to check, you want to make sure it's nice and clean, so it's like a see-through colour, which I can see that. And also I want to make sure it's level. Now this one is a bit down, but before you get carried away and just pour in more brake fluid in, if your level is down, it's a good thing to check your brakes. And when I get on the lift I'll show you, but the front pads, I haven't checked the back ones yet, but the front pads are low. So if we basically put more brake fluid in there and change the front pads, it's all going to leak out everywhere. So we change the front pads, push the pistons back, I can more or less guarantee this level is going to be okay. So it's always a good thing, if your level is low, check your brakes. So next thing I'm going to do, I've obviously screwed down the airbox as well. So we know the antifreeze is good. Next thing I'm going to do is the water bottle. Very simple this. Put some additive in it. Screen wash. Fill it with water. Simple as that. It's a thing people forget to do, and believe me, when you need them, it's good to have it. Like that. Yeah. Sorted. Next thing I'm going to do is the spark plugs, and we need to get some tools for that and crack on with it. First thing we need to do is take off the coil pack. Let me find the right torque for that, which is a T30. Some people over tighten these, you have to be careful. You over tighten these, you can crack the coil pack, it means you have to place a new coil pack. And they're not particularly cheap. Pull out the coil far side, just unplug it, and then this should, a bit of a wiggle, come out quite easy, but this one isn't. Now, this one is completely stuck in. So we have to be careful here and just lever it very slightly. The last thing you want to do is break this. Nowhere else to grab it. There we go. So I'm just very lightly moving this up. Again, isn't particularly great, but no choice. There we go. Now, as you can see, one coil pack. Dog can see the rabbit, see the 4 plugs. Just a good thing also just to check down the plugs, make sure there's no oil, water or anything that shouldn't be there. And if there is, obviously we have other problems, but they all look nice and clean. So you get 16mm socket. So a 3/8 drive, 16mm spark plug socket. Nice, let's crack them all first. Obviously we need to make sure they're not too tight, because if they're really tight coming out, they could be cross-ready going in. You have to be careful. Take one out. Let's see what it looks like. There is a special piece of rubber in that socket, but it just doesn't grab it all the time. Now, I can get the new spark plug and show you the new one against the old one. Now this is important, to make sure you've got the right plug. And the easiest way to do that is obviously line them both up, make sure they're both the same height, same amount of threads, they're not big or smaller, for obvious reasons. Now, the colour of this old spark plug is like a biscuity colour. Hopefully this is coming through on camera. Now that's a good colour, that means it's burning properly, but as you can see, the electrode gap is huge. If you look at the new one, the difference of the gap, these plugs are old, there's nothing wrong with them, they're just old and worn compared to the new plugs. But we know it's been burning okay, so you want to make sure all 4 plugs are like that. And replacing with the new one, it should be run a lot smoother. Even though like there's nothing wrong with them plugs, but make sure they don't drop between the electrode gap. And screw it in by hand. Always important to screw it in by hand. I'm just going to show you one of these and then I'm going to do the rest. There's no point in me showing you all because they're exactly the same. So screw it in by hand as much as you can. Because if you screw it in with the ratchet and it's cross-threaded, you're going to be in trouble. At least you can feel it with your hands if it's not. What I'm going to do is grab the top of the ratchet, not grab the edge of it, because I can put too much pressure on it and I can over-tighten this and round it. So I'm just going to grab the top of it and just give it a nice squeeze, just like that. That's all you've got to do. You don't need any more than that. You over-tighten it, you're going to be in trouble. So just grab the top, bit of a squeeze. You can use a 1/2 inch ratchet, but the problem with the 1/2 inch ratchet is it's a lot longer and you can very easily over-tighten it. So I'm going to bang the other 3 out and put the coil pack back, and we'll see what is next. So I have all that put back in. It's now not a bad thing once you've done that to start the engine, just to make sure everything's fine, obviously before you drain the oil, which goes without saying. So I'm going to start the engine now just to make sure it's alright, you know, because you could have a problem, and if you start the engine now, you know it's something to do with the plugs. You know, if you do a few more things, you don't know what it might be to do with. Make sure the plug's clipped in. It's a good thing now just to check, like I always say, preventive maintenance is the key. So just go around everything, make sure all the pipes are tight, all the connections are on, nothing's rubbing. So just go around all the pipes, there's a connection come out here, just push it down. Make sure nothing's rubbing, because if anything rubs, a vacuum pipe, a radiator pipe, you know, if it bursts in the middle of nowhere, you're going to be in trouble. Just give it a good look over, make sure everything is absolutely fine. And to be fair, everything here looks good. One thing I've also have done, and I forgot to say, is to check the power steering fluid, the electric power steering, which is down there. You can't really see it. You also want to make sure you get the right fluid, because the electric power steering fluid is different to the conventional power steering fluid. So you want to make sure you get the right fluid. I've checked it, it doesn't need topping up, so you're okay. So what I'm going to do now is going to start it, just make sure it's dry, not driving, but just make sure it's actually, you know, it sounds okay. I'm going to leave it running as well, because I need to heat the engine up before I drain the oil. That's another important thing. So I'm going to heat the engine up now, let it get fully hot, and then we'll change the oil down. So leave the camera on just to make sure that the engine sounds okay first. Now, it did make a funny noise there. I think that's to do with the starter motor more so than anything. I'm going to have to check that out. But, as you can hear, the engine's ticking over nice with no problem. So I'm going to leave this running, let the engine heat up, get it on the lift, drain the oil, switch the camera back on. Right, I hope this is coming through. We're on, obviously the car is on the lift and we can see the outside of the disc, and the outside of the disc looks pretty okay. It looks all nice and shiny. There is a lip, but if you looked at it you think, oh yeah, that's okay. Now I can't show you, but obviously the pads are very worn. If you was looking at yourself you would kind of see, but I've no light with me unfortunately, so I can't really show you, but it's common sense. But what I'm trying to get at, you come around to the other side and bang, look, we can see instantly that this part is gone all rusty, so when we haven't got the full amount of brakes. The lip on the inside is absolutely massive, same on the far side. So never ever look at the front of your disc. It's always the inside of your discs, inside where the engine I should say, that's where they always go first. So this car definitely needs front pads and discs quite soon, because they are very bad. So we're underneath the engine. There's the old sump plug. So I'm going to drain the oil now. The oil filter is at the top of the engine. We do that once it gets on the floor. We have a slight bit of an oil leak here, but that could just be oil dripping from servicing, or it could be an actual oil leak. It's not major, so I'll tell them, but it's nothing really to worry about at the minute. So we've got another torque. There's no point in filming this, it's just undo this plug, let the oil come out. It's really as simple as that. I'll film obviously putting the oil in and film the oil filter. So we're going to crack on with that now. I'll turn the camera back on when the when the car is on the floor. So yeah, we come to the oil filter now, and you want to be careful with these because they're all plastic. Well, actually it's a plastic top and this one's a cast case. Sometimes, just turn that around so I can see. You see me? Sometimes they're all plastic and you can crack them very easy by over tightening them. It's also a good thing just to remember to take your oil cap off, because it's very easy to forget that you haven't got oil in, or if you get distracted or something. But if you take the oil cap off, you kind of know there's maybe something particularly not right. So I'm just going to undo this. It's going to be hopefully simple if I don't drop. If I don't drop the socket. It's a 25mm socket. It's cracked enough, yeah. This by hand, it's getting tight again now, so. It's at an angle as well, so it's a bit awkward. And when we saw that oil at the bottom, it's directly on top of where the filter goes. But obviously, we are going to drop a certain amount of oil. That's kind of, you can't avoid that. So when you see oil underneath your car, it might not necessarily be an oil leak. It could be from previous services. So, take the old cap and pull out the filter. Oh, that was stuck in there. Now, to be fair, this one looks like it hasn't been changed in a while. And there we go, we have the wrong filter. The wrong filter has arrived, so there's nothing I can do with that. I'm going to have to get the proper filter and bang it in. So I'm going to have to make a few phone calls. So as you can see, we have the correct filter. This is the problem with certain cars, you know, they have so many different parts, and you know, for the same year there could be 3 different filters, there can be 4 different types of brakes. It's a nightmare. It really is a nightmare. If you are unsure of what you've got, the best thing to do is, if you go to your local motor factories or wherever you buy your parts from, if they tell you there's a couple of different filters, what I suggest you do is, because obviously the filters aren't particularly that expensive, just buy the filters, especially if you've got a good relationship with them. If you buy a lot of them, you just tell them, look, okay, I'll take both, and whichever one's wrong, I'll return the part that's wrong. Most of them don't have a problem with that. This one came wrong, not a big deal. I got him to drop the other one down. Just literally a case of pushing it in. It clips in. This goes on top, screws down. Simple as that. Helps when you have the right part too. So yeah, I mean, it happens a lot. If you have a good, like I said, a good relationship with your supplier, they don't have a problem with giving you the parts. You pay for them and then you return the ones back. Or obviously the other thing that you can do, if you've got another car, you work on someone else's car, you can always take the parts off and give it to them, so you know exactly which parts you're getting. Sometimes that you can't really do that. Now, you don't want to tighten this a lot. It only says 25 newtons on top of it, which isn't a hell of a lot at all. So that's good. And now I'm going to put the oil in. And again, I know I say this a lot, but it's so important to get the right oil for your engine. I had a Jeep here the other day and the turbo was whining in it. Like the bearing's gone because the wrong oil's been put into it. It's gone through the turbo and it's ripped the turbo apart. Just because the wrong oil. It's as simple as that. Make sure you get the right oil. Again, you can go on the internet, find the right spec. You go to your local dealer or your local motor factories, they'll tell you, they'll have the computer, they'll know exactly what oil to go in it, because there's loads of different oils out there. There's fully synthetic, semi-synthetic, 1045, anyway, it just goes on and on and on. There's different specs as well, because depending on the engine, they've got different additives in, like the Mercedes have a different additive to BMW, had different additive to Ford, you know, so just make sure you get the right oil. I'm going to put the oil in this now. I think it takes around 3.5, 4 litres, not 100% sure, but we'll find that out very soon. So yeah, let's crack on. Take this back. So what I'm going to do first is put 3 litres in first. Then I'm going to start it, let it fill the filter, wait for the oil light to go off, and then top it up with whatever it needs. Because I know with this engine, with it being only a 1.4, I know 3 litres will be enough to start it, to do what I need to do without doing damage. If you have a bigger engine, obviously you need to put a bit more in, just depending on your engine. The most common 1.4s take 3.5 to 4 litres. 2 litre engines maybe take 4, 5, 6 depending. So you just kind of need to know what engine you've got. And again, Google to be your friend as well. And if you are doing this yourself, you know, it's no harm to maybe get a piece of paper and write down that your engine took 4 litres and it took this and it took that. It's this number filter, so you know for the next time it's this number pad. You know, you can keep all that very handy in a little book on the car, so you know where you're basically going with it if you ever have to do anything with it again. Now we're actually on the mark, but I know the filter needs to take some. So I'm just going to start this, let the oil light go off, and then leave it a few minutes and check the level. Making that noise again, I'm not sure what that is. Do a bit more investigation about it. But I'm not going to worry about that yet. It doesn't do it all the time. So the oil light's gone off. I'm just going to let the oil settle now. Dip it. See if you need any more. Yeah, we're going to need about half a litre, I reckon. Maybe a little bit more. Pour in this. give it a few minutes, double check it. Look at that, bang on. They're always very black in this too, which for a petrol engine isn't great, so it obviously hasn't been changed in a while. So look, that is really as simple as that. Nothing to it. Bit of common sense, take your time, you know, double check, make sure everything's tight, because obviously you don't want to be driving down the road and oil to be coming out, and something that's tight, all that sort of stuff. You should none of the pipes are rattling. Simple as. Now this is the last part of the video. It's doing the diagnostics on this Astra. Now most Opels, Vectras and all, well, Opels and all that, they're normally between the gear handbrake, sorry. There's a little cover you just pull off, and that's where the diagnostic plug is on most of them. So what we need to do is make sure the ignition is on, which the ignition is on. Hope this one will do it. This is a great little one. It's not particularly expensive. It's a Foxwell, and it's brilliant. Oh, for the price of it. I think it's just a stupid fault, and what I mean by that is the car is still driving, no problem. So I think it maybe hit a bump or a bit of water, and something's just initially just didn't read properly and put up a fault. Now it says 2 faults. I'm trying to do this and look at the same time. It's quite difficult. So let's see what it says. Read stored faults. Now it's saying oxygen sensor heat bank 1. Now with this kind of a fault, it's hard to say. It's best to wipe it, go back, erase codes, take it for a drive and see what comes up. See if it comes up again, or see if something different comes up. Are you sure? Yes. Now, let's make sure it's done, because sometimes it doesn't erase them. If it doesn't, you know you've definitely got a problem. But with most cars, when the light comes on, so it's saying there's no faults, it is best just to obviously read them and clear them first to see. But I don't think there's going to be a problem with it. I think it's just going to reset itself and not have an issue. Let's see if the engine light goes off or comes back on or whatever. Now, engine light gone off like it's supposed to. It's one of them faults where I wouldn't particularly really worry about it. I think it could just been a miscommunication just for a split second. If it comes back on, we'll obviously look into it a bit more, but I honestly don't think it's going to be a problem. So look, I hope it helps. Thumbs up and subscribe, and don't forget, get your hands dirty. See you for the next one.